Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a very exciting announcement video. This is the list of books that we will be reading for the Book Naturalist Book Club in 2024. So I have a great long list of books to talk about. I have none of these books in physical form yet. So I'm just going to talk about them, and I'm going to put a picture of the cover up on screen here so that you can see them. I have my notes down here beside me, so if I'm looking down, that's what I am referring to is our list. And it is a very diverse list. There's lots of different kinds of authors and kinds of topics and kinds of books. And so let's just get into it and talk all about it, because it's very, very exciting to be going into a new year with the Book Naturalist Club. It's been, what, is this the third year, fourth year? I can't even remember how many years we've been doing it, but it's a lot of fun. So in January, we will be reading The Comfort of Crows, A Backyard Year by Margaret Renkl. Renkl is a Southern American writer, and we have read her before. We read Late Migrations a couple years ago. This book is it's split up into 52 chapters, and each chapter details her observations of the animals and plant life in her backyard over the course of a year and through the seasons. So that one sounds delightful. Then in February, which is Black History Month, we will be reading two books. The first one is A Darker Wilderness, Black Nature Writing from Soil to Stars by Erin, Sharkey. And this is an essay collection with many different authors. Erin Sharkey is the editor and curator of the group of authors that are writing these essays. So that's an essay collection. That's the first book we'll be reading. And then the second book is Black Faces, White Spaces, Reimagining the Relationship of African Americans to the Great Outdoors by Carolyn, Finney. And this one is all about the perceived and real ways in which nature and the environment have been racialized in America. So I think that one sounds really fascinating and very appropriate for Black History Month. Then we're into March, and so in March we're going to be reading a novel. We're going to read some fiction in March, and that is The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff. This is a book that's been, I've heard it talked about quite a bit here on BookTube here in the second half of 2023. I don't think I've ever read any Lauren Groff, so I'm very excited to read a book by her. The Vaster Wilds, I believe, is dystopian, so yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that one out in March. Then we head into April, which is the theme for that month tends to be to read Australian literature. It's the Aussie April reading theme month. And so for April, we have picked Understory, A Life with Trees by Inga Simpson, who is an Australian author. And this is a book in which each chapter talks about a different tree from the Sunshine Coast hinterlands of Australia. So that is not an area of Australia that I am very familiar with, so I am interested. I always like to read about trees anyway. I think trees are awesome, and books about trees are awesome, and so this one's ringing all my bells for the month of April. Going into the month of May, we will be reading for the Asian-themed reading month. We'll be reading The Sakura Obsession, The Incredible Story of the Plant Hunter Who Saved Japan's Cherry Blossoms. And this is by Naoko Abe. Is Abe or Abe? I don't know how to pronounce that. So it's ABE, the last name of the author. So this is one of those stories that I really like, a narrative nonfiction about an individual who did something really interesting. And in this case, it's about a person who was really obsessed with cherry trees. And when there was a loss of cherry trees in Japan, this person had saved some of that particular plant and got it back to the place that it belonged. So I am looking forward to reading more about this person and their obsession with cherry trees and how that was helped to save a species that was in peril. So that is for the Asian themed reading in May. And then in June, we're going to try to hit two reading themes with two different books. So the first reading theme is Pride. And for that, we're going to read How Far the Light Reaches, A Life in Sea Creatures by Sabrina Imbler. And this is, Sabrina Imbler is a queer mixed race author who uses they, them pronouns. So I will try to be good about that. And this is their essay collection about sea creatures who live in hostile or like really remote environments. I've heard really good things about this. It's an essay collection. I think I said that. And it's going to be really fun to read about these kind of really obscure sea creatures, I think. That's something I'm super interested in. So that will be for Pride. And then for Caribathon, another novel on the list for all of you fiction lovers out there. It's The Mermaid, A Black Conch, The Mermaid, A Black Conch by Monique Roffey, or Roffey. Can't read my own handwriting. I think it's Roffey. And so this is a novel about a mermaid who is washed up on shore in a Caribbean island and is taken in by a man there and what happens afterwards. So don't know anything more about it than that, but it sounds very intriguing. Heading into July, we have another 2 books on the docket, and the first one is Soil, Camille T. Dungy, and this book is the story of a Black mother's garden. And so this details the author's experiences trying to grow a diversified garden in the primarily white suburb of Fort Collins, Colorado. So that's an interesting topic. And then we will also be reading a book by an author that we've read before in the Book Naturalists Book Club, and this is their new book that will be coming out in 2024. It's Bite by Bite: Nourishments and Jamborees by Aimee Nezhukumatathil, and we read her book A World of Wonders, that essay collection that was so fabulous. So really excited to read this one. Bite by Bite is a book about food and food traditions, so that will be very interesting. I don't know that we've read anything like that for the Book Naturalist Club before. Heading into August, this is Translated Fiction Month, or Translated Works Month, and so we will be reading a work of fiction again, another novel, and it is The Last Wild Horses by Maja Lunde, and this is translated from the Norwegian. I believe it's dystopian. It's like 2 timelines. It's got a distant past timeline and then a dystopian future timeline. And I believe Lunde writes about climate issues in her fiction. So I have been wanting to try this author for a while, so I'm very much looking forward to trying this book, The Last Wild Horses. And then we're headed into September, where we again will be hitting 2 themes for the month of September. So the first theme is Hispanic heritage, and we will be reading The Kissing Bug. It's got a long subtitle. The Kissing Bug: A True Story of a Family, an Insect, and a Nation's Neglect of a Deadly Disease by Daisy Hernandez. Her background is, her ancestry is Colombian. Her family's from Colombia. And this is her nonfiction account about the disease Chagas, which I don't know anything about, but evidently it is much more prevalent in the US than the Zika virus. So I'm interested to learn more about that. And then the second theme we'll be hitting is for Shorty September. We've got a collection of poetry, and that is You Are Here, Poetry in the Natural World, which is edited by Ada Limon. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm not a huge poetry girly, but I do like me some nature poetry. So I am hopeful that I will find a lot of poetry to sort of tickle my fancy in this collection. It's a collection of many different authors, and Ada Limon is the editor. So then into October, which is Victober, and we're cheating a little tiny bit on this to try to get into the Victober theme of reading in the sort of late 1800s. So we're going to read The Forgotten Botanist by The Forgotten Botanist, Sarah Plummer Lemon's Life of Science and Art by Wynne Brown. And this is a book about Sarah Plummer, who was a woman in 1870s who became self-taught botanist, and like with her husband identified like hundreds of new plants, and also I think started a library. So very interesting woman, and very much interested to read more about her story. and of course the book was not written during the Victorian time period, but it is about a woman in the Victorian time period. Okay, and then into November, we'll be reading for Indigenous Heritage Month, and that we will be reading Fresh Banana Leaves, Healing Indigenous Landscapes Through Indigenous Science by Jessica Hernandez. And this is a book that talks about how Western science is failing us, and it talks about specific cases and personal stories where Indigenous ways of knowing have been successful in sort of protecting and reclaiming wild spaces. So very interested in this book and love to read more about Indigenous ways of knowing. You know how much I love Braiding Sweetgrass and Robin Wall Kimmerer, and then we read Linda Hogan just in November for Book Naturalist Book Club. So really interested in Indigenous ways of knowing and looking at the natural world. And then last but not least, we have the book for December. And again, we're going to hit the mystery. We're going to hit the mystery section of the bookstore and read a mystery novel. And this time we will be reading A History of Wild Places by Shea Ernshaw. And this is a mystery that we're trying to solve about a missing person, and leads our investigator to a hidden commune. So that's pretty interesting. Not sure where that one's going to take us, but we'll find out together next December. So that's the list. Those are the books that we will be taking on in 2024. I will have a complete list in the notes below, and you'll be able to use that list to go shopping, go to your library, acquire these books however you might, and hopefully you will be interested in joining us to talk about these books over the year 2024. This is some of the highlights of my reading all year long are to read these nature-based books. Really love how diverse our list is in 2024. I feel like we really are just reading all over the map for this, and I think it's really fun. There's a lot of, almost all of these authors are new to me. There's only a couple that I've read before, so that's wonderful to expand my reading horizons. And I really hope that you'll come along with us for the journey. I'll be making monthly videos per usual on this channel to talk about what the books were that we read, and then to also give you another heads up of what we'll be reading for the next month. I hope you will join my co-host Doris from Aldi Books and I as we read through a bunch of different nature type books over the course of the year. Hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I'll talk to you later.